Teraz sa presunieme do Monaka, kde nám pani Birgitty Bondonno, právnička a riaditeľka More Stephens a More Multifamily Office, priblíži koncept Family Office. Tento pojem sa u nás už začal častejšie skloňovať, ale naozaj málo kto tomu úplne naozaj dobre rozumie, teda aspoň tak ako pani Birgitta. Má rozsiahle skúsenosti s poskytovaním právneho a finančného poradenstva medzinárodným klientom, najmä v oblastiach ako relokácia, nehnuteľnosti, dane a majetkové plánovanie. V prednáške s názvom Je Family Office naozaj pre každého nám pani Birgitta predstaví výhody a nevýhody Family Office a pomôže pochopiť, či je táto štruktúra vhodná aj pre vašu rodinu a rodinnú firmu.
A ešte aj ja by som k tomu chcela povedať, že poprvé ďakujeme spoločnosti MoreBDR, že vôbec nás kontaktovala s Birgittou a môže tu Birgitta byť. Na druhej strane Birgitta vám aj povie, že včera priletela a kufor jej ešte lieta iným smerom, ako ona je tu. A napriek tomu ide hore a bude s vami hovoriť o tom, aké má skúsenosti. A prečo sme ju oslovili? Preto, lebo už aj minulý rok sme otvárali Family Office, čo sú zverejnecké fondy, nadačné fondy a tak sme celkom vhupli do toho vo veľkom a myslím si, že bude lepšie ešte raz sa k tomu vrátiť, pozrieť sa na to z iného uhlu pohľadu, lebo množstvo rodín, ktoré tu sedíte, práve riešite, čo ďalej s mojím majetkom, ako ho ďalej spravovať, dať správu majetku externým ľuďom, ktorí mi to budú spravovať? Alebo ako môže rodina v tomto celom byť? A to je práve názov a ponímanie Family Office, ktorý my na Slovensku ešte úplne nemáme taký uchopený. A myslím si, že pani Birgitta nám k tomu povie o mnoho viac, takže privítajte Birgittu Bondonno. Thank you so much.
Hello everybody. And myself, I'm also very grateful to Martin, who's here from More Slovakia, who invited me or put me in touch with this fantastic team who have organized this conference. So I'm going to speak about family offices. I'm a lawyer and I work in Monaco, so we work with family offices. We provide services to them. Sometimes we help them set up, but very often our core business has been following, we follow generations of business people, and very often their wealth that has come from their business has grown so that there is a need to put some of it up to the different side and deal with it separate from the business operation. So I will mention a little bit of what is the family office, because we hear this term a lot, but nobody really can pinpoint what it is. Then we would look at some history. How did it develop? When do we see that it's a need to set up a separate family office, separate from the family business? And the structure, what is an appropriate structure for the family office? And finally, we will have a case study on a Slovak family, a family like yourselves. So the definition, well, it's a private wealth management firm, and it handles the financial and personal affairs of one single family, so it's a single family office, or many different families, a multi-family office. And here, those of you who have Netflix will recognize this family, Downton Abbey. So it was just to give you a little bit of history. We talk about family offices as a concept, but this concept is fairly modern, and it was developed in the US, actually, in the 1990s. And indeed, in the US, I think you have special regimes, and it is a very now established way of managing personal affairs. But this is an example. It's existed. The services provided by a family office, they have existed for centuries. The English manner, with the butler being responsible for household staff. You will have a separate individual being responsible for the farming and how that is managed. Obviously, the man or the woman of the house will supervise it all, but they're all working together to preserve and to grow the wealth. And in those days, the wealth would be the chateau, a chateau like this one, the farm, and the land. So that was the business that needed to be preserved and grow. And this one, Adam, you should know who these people are, and maybe someone else as well. It is the Ford family, and I thought that was fitting because here in Slovakia, I understand that the car industry, car manufacturing is a very important and successful business for you. So it's just a photo actually to say what happened in the 20th century, where you would have the business staff actually serving for part of their job the family, organizing travels, dealing with private investments, making sure that whatever dividends came out could be invested, but personally for the founder maybe. And the more the wealth or the personal income from the business that was then reinvested, the more that increased, it also became more and more awkward to have your office staff dealing with it. There is an issue with having your personal finances scrutinized by your office staff, so confidentiality. And it also isn't really good governance. Those who know about tax, we wouldn't want personal services to be paid for by our business. That's not really good governance. So the need for a separate office would develop for that type of business. So the key functions then, well, investment management. That will be one of the big functions of a family office. Wealth planning and preservation. And here we're looking for succession planning to make that succession in the future as smooth and efficient as possible. Financial administration, that would be paying bills, making sure that we have budgets in place for the different family members. Do they need to pay school fees now? What is going on in their lives? And making sure that you have the cash flow from investments, that you have the cash necessary when things are going to be paid. So financial administration. Legal and compliance services. They can be in-house. Very often they are also outsourced, but important to at least have legal and compliance understanding in the family office, so that you know also what the limits are. Sometimes you need to go to external experts, but you have to have some basic knowledge for it. Philanthropy. When families of a certain wealth, and here we come back to the legacy, they want to leave a mark, they want to leave a legacy, and they are interested in charities and making donations and so on, and that can be managed through the family office. Lifestyle management, then planning trips, maintaining real estate, various registering of cars, all that type of thing would also be part of family office services. So it's a wide range. What leads up to setting up a family office? And, well, firstly, substantial wealth accumulation. And it can also be a liquidity event. So say that someone is selling his business, or it goes public. That usually generates big amounts of cash to the family. And at the same time, you might not have at your disposal office staff to help you manage that cash. So it can be that event, or just simply that your business is generating such wealth that you need to be able to handle that wealth separate from your business. The need for personalized services. When you come to this level of wealth, it might not suit to just be sold a product or an investment product from a bank. You need to be able to find private equity solutions, find other partners, and that is not necessarily offered by the usual wealth planners. So you want to have that in-house. Also, the desire for privacy and control. Confidentiality is very important for families, and that maybe Slovakia is different, but certainly for big international families, it's a security issue, security for their family members. So this privacy is something that you can manage better if you have it in-house, all the information about the family's private wealth and private affairs. And then we mentioned the wealth planning, succession planning, making sure that your wealth is preserved and is growing for the next generation. Philanthropy, again, that you want to increase that activity and you don't want to have it within the business, but you want it outside so that you can control and maybe put one family member who is passionate about one subject to deal with it, but within a separate office to that of your business. And then the complexity of financial affairs. Very often we will see in families that you have cross-border situations, assets are located in one place, family members are resident in another. You will have cross-financing between entities, holding entities within the same family. And those need to be dealt with in a coordinated manner. So you can't have a service provider who only deals with one bit and doesn't understand the impact on the rest of the family structure. And then the legal and regulatory complexity. That is something that families need to be aware of. Sometimes they deal with that in-house, but also they are very often held hand in hand by service providers like ourselves, for example. The structure. Well, there is no one model. It all depends on the family needs. And the family needs, they can be one thing in the first generation of a family setting up a business. Very often, actually, the first generation will be very focused on running and growing the business, and it's only when you come to the second and third that you see that other needs are there as well. You need to diversify investments, and it's all coming and changing all the time. So you have to identify what, at the moment, are the family needs and what services will be needed. Staffing. And I know we talked about taking external people and so on. Staffing is very important for families, and very often staff, also the succession planning for staff is important. If you have key persons who are trusted, who are directors of many companies for the family, you want to make sure that when that person comes to retirement, you have someone who had been trained alongside him or her who can then manage at the time of retirement. So it's very, people think about the persons a lot, and that's important when we talk about staffing. Also, which capabilities are needed, and that, of course, depends on what services the family office will perform. Location. The location will depend on where the family is resident, where the different family members are resident. It will depend on political stability. How big is the family wealth? How spread is it? Maybe it's sufficient to have a private office in Slovakia, but it could also be that you need something outside because you have headquarters somewhere else, or you do organize meetings somewhere else, or you want to be in a jurisdiction where it's English spoken or some other language. Political stability is also important. budget, that is a key question. You want to make that cost-benefit analysis, ensure that it will always be a significant cost to set up a family office, usually. But that cost should not, the benefit of it should weigh over that cost. So it means that the growth of your wealth, for example, the investments should give you a better return if dealt with a family office rather than through external service providers. The types of structures. We can have a simple administrative office. It can start off with a PA sitting in a private office somewhere. Even in the home, you have an office space and there is your PA dealing with certain things. And then other services like accounting and tax, legal will be outsourced. And that may be very good for someone who already has a pre-established good relationship with external service providers. And also where the budget maybe doesn't allow a bigger setup. But it can also then grow and have a little admin team that will deal with investments, payments, and certain day-to-day matters. That would be your sort of start-off office. Hybrid, you provide certain services in-house, and then you outsource particular functions. And this happens very often when you have specific knowledge in a specific sector. You want those experts in that sector to be in-house with you, and then other tax, legal can be outsourced. And then we go to the full spectrum, where you have everything in the family office, legal, accounting. You may have external auditors if you need audit for some of the private companies. But even that type of full spectrum family offices, and we have some very big families in Monaco, they will not be able to provide for everything. You will always need external experts. You buy a yacht, you will need someone who's an expert on VAT, or art collections. Someone needs to be there to help. When should I buy? Where should I sell? And so experts externally are always needed. So the infrastructure then. Risk management is important, that we make sure that there are processes, and this we heard previously about this, how important it is to establish those procedures and processes. Corporate governance, I call it. Confidentiality and security, hiring staff, have proper checks of the people you bring into your family, because you're actually bringing people into your family. They will know about your private affairs, they will know about your private finances. And also the due diligence on third-party providers. And sometimes, yes, we're going to get onto our case study. Technology, again, the cloud is great for filing, but is it secure? You have to see which type of documents to file where. So it's not a stagnant structure. It's something that evolves with the family. What is important for the founders of a business is maybe not the main focus of the second and third generation. And the family office is moving and it moves with the family. And we talked about the embedded family office, how it then grows into investment management, and finally a full service family office. Yes, we're coming to a case study. So here we have the Mr. and Mrs. V, and they are the founders and owners of V Motor Group, car manufacturing. They have 3 adult children, 2 of them are involved full-time in the business. The third child works in a different sector and is not active in the family business. All 3 have children who are minors, so we have 3 generations here already. The business. Well, the V Motor Group has about 100 employees. Mr. and Mrs. V, they own 3 companies, one for management of real estate, one for the manufacturing with 75 employees, and a trading company with 25 employees. They own real estate, so we're looking at the assets. They own their family home. They have also invested in residential real estate that they are renting out, an apartment owned personally by the husband and wife, one owned by the real estate holding company. They own a chalet in Austria where they bring the family sometimes for skiing, and they have a housekeeper. The children, they own their separate homes, and they have invested in their homes by using loan from their parents. And they all employ their separate housekeeper, and one unfortunate person has been sued by an ex-employee for unfair dismissal. So this is just really illustrating that holding of real estate. They also have financial investments, of course, and those are all held by Slovak banks. They have some insurance products. It's always a good both succession planning and tax planning tool. And those are held in Luxembourg, but the broker is in Slovakia. And art, they support Slovak artists, and they own a big collection of art and sculptures. So the current organization, before actually setting up or going any further, they have accountants in-house dealing with bookkeeping, and each one use different software. Company one does not employ any staff, and that's very usual when we just have a pure holding company. It's not necessary to employ through that company. And they outsource accounting to third party. One of the big 4 firms is dealing with corporate tax declarations and personal income tax declaration. The children, they deal each with their own income tax. And all of them have privately employed their respective housekeeper. So what should we consider first of all? Well, we would look at the type of assets owned by the family and whether they are owned in the most efficient manner and when it comes to tax, but also when it comes to passing those assets in the future. And what you would normally do is always to split business assets from personal assets and not have cross-financing either necessarily, but to keep the two separate. Family dynamics need to be considered. How do they all get on? One of the children is not active in the business. What is the role of that person going forward? How do you compensate maybe that person will not take part of the business? Confidentiality, you don't want information on the personal investments to go over to the business side. And finally, you don't want there to be any contagion of risk between the two. So whatever happens on your business, that you have that separate from your own personal liability. So maybe here what we could suggest is that they harmonize the bookkeeping systems, and there might be economy to be obtained by doing so, because you will have 3 companies using the same, and maybe you could negotiate the fee on that. It would also be more efficient because you can probably consolidate the data in a more efficient manner. The household staff is usually not the best way to employ directly in your personal name, because you are exposing yourself and your family to claims. So having that done by a company, maybe the family office, could also help organize the payroll for these employees. Maybe one can deal with all of them, or split it between the family, and again make savings and also more efficient. And then you would have key staff to supervise all this within the family office. So if you had a lawyer in there, it would probably be someone with very general knowledge. And the accountants, I see we're coming to the end. Administrative staff, we have mentioned what type of functions they would have, maintain your properties and so on. The benefits, finally. So customization, privacy control, we mentioned these things already in the previous slides, and the challenge would be to weigh the cost against the benefits you get from it, and the economy, and of course it should make the wealth grow, not diminish it, and not be a burden on the family by being too complex. Sorry, thank you.
Birgitta, ďakujeme veľmi pekne. Toto je veľká téma. Keby sme si právne, daňové, majetkové, všetko rozdelili, môžeme sa o tom rozprávať celý deň. To je náš dobrá myšlienka, Linda. Takže ešte si ťa trošku nepustíme. Môžeme mať ešte nejaké otázky? Myslím si, že môžeme mať dve, že? Takže, aké minimálne majetkové a finančné predpoklady sú potrebné na to, aby sme mohli využívať takéto služby? Aby naše rodinné firmy vedeli, je to pre mňa, není to pre mňa, znie mi to, že to je len pre veľké firmy, ktorí majú veľký majetok, veľa zamestnancov, ale je to aj pre stredne veľké firmy. Čo je tam taký predpoklad? Čiže možno ešte toto by sme mohli došpecifikovať, aby sa každý v tom našiel.
Yes. And if you look to the US, what they say about starting a single family office, and what we also say in Monaco, but then those are quite specific jurisdictions. They would say $100 or €100 100 million would be a minimum to start a single family office to make it worthwhile. But I would say that it's all very relative, and it also depends. It might be sufficient with a few staff that only deals with what the family actually needs. And so it will have to be, it can be definitely for a medium-sized business and a medium wealth, if we could say that, yes.
Dobre, tak máte, pozerám sa na vás, máte nejakú otázku, alebo môžem klásť, ja ešte jednu mám. Ešte Linda mi hovorí, máme. Dobre, tak kedy sú najrelevantnejšie komerčné zložky pri prechode z jedného rodinného subjektu do skutočnej kancelárie? Adam.
I'm not sure I understand exactly, but if it means that it's usually a question of both corporate governance, that you cannot have your personal affairs dealt with by the business because it's not their role. They should not do it, and it shouldn't be a cost for that business. So that's one part that would make you transition out. And then that part could have been dealt with by external service providers, wealth managers, and so on. And it's when you see that that doesn't give you the solution or the best return on your investments, doesn't give you the control on what you want to do, then that would maybe sparkle this private family office.
A ja mám teda jednu poslednú otázku, Birgitta. Či máš pre nás nejaké také univerzálne, nadčasové, pre všetky rodiny, pre všetky rodinné firmy možno odporúčanie, čo im pomôže a je veľmi dôležité, ak rozmýšľajú o tom, ako sa postarať o svoj majetok a dlhovekosť toho majetku, ako ho ochrániť, ako ho správovať.
Well, it's really to ensure that your business doesn't die with your, or your wealth doesn't die with the founder. So that means that you have to put structures in place. It can be a holding company, it can be trust, foundations of very liked by us to Northern, Eastern European. And those structures continue to live and to serve the family. So that would really be my thing, to say that you shouldn't have one person who keeps everything and stays in control, but you need to put a structure, not necessarily giving it to the children either, but that you have some sort of corporate governance in there.
Veľmi pekne ďakujeme. Mám nádej, že si z toho zobrali naše slovenské rodinné firmy to, čo potrebovali. A ja osobne si myslím, že znovu sme sa na to pozreli a priblížili k tejto náročnej, dôležitej, ale pre nás takej novej téme. Čo s našim majetkom, ktorý vybudovali majitelia a zakladatelia, ako to urobiť čo najspravodlivejšie, možno najjednoduchšie, ak je tam viac detí, ak sú aktívne, ak sú pasívne vo svojich životoch smerom a vzhľadom k rodinným firmám. Ak máme deti z viacerých manželstiev, ak sú tam náhle nástupníctva. Sú to náročné, ale nesmierne dôležité témy. Takže Birgitta, veľmi pekne ďakujeme, že si priniesla na Slovensko medzi slovenské rodinné firmy vašu skúsenosť. Ďakujeme ešte raz. Birgitta Bondonno z Monaka.